every hello everyone. Hello Sangha. Hello people out of the internet. Um, I am Sister Minbao, Suko Minbao, an ordained nun from the Mount Adams Buddhist Temple in Washington. And today's talk is titled, I don't have a clue what this talk is going to be about. That's what the title is, because I have a million different things going on in my head, but they all seem to have a similar feel to them. So we'll see as I open my mouth what happens. I can get myself into a lot of trouble this way. I will try to keep this suitable for children. Uh, One thing that really brought into mind was I always feel like somehow this group does a check-in before our Dharma talks, and the topic of this check-in was connectivity. And it always seems like whenever I can't quite get my thoughts together, when all these things are popping up, say, talk about me, talk about me. If I just pop into the check-in and listen, something becomes clear. And the fact that Darcy chose connectivity really kind of brought my thoughts into focus. Because how do we connect with people? And I think there is a belief in Buddhism that we do. That's kind of our thing. And I'd like to start with that. There are, in most people's minds, two huge branches of Buddhism that encompass lots of little spin-offs and belief systems and stuff from that. And one is the Theravada and one is the Mahayana. And I was formerly in the Theravada group. So what we were taught was enlightenment was a very individual path. And it was up to you to really work, follow the Dharma, really work your way towards your own personal enlightenment. Now you had the Sangha around you to support your journey, but it was a very personal journey. You didn't really get involved in anybody else's journeys. And so if someone was struggling and I would hear this, I would hear someone in the Sangha say, well, that's their path. And isn't that choices that they need to make? And, we can send them, they never said we send them metta, but they're like, we can support them, we can love them, but it's their path. And the whole goal was enlightenment to relieve your own suffering and to come to a place of nirvana, which was just a comfortable, free place of suffering. When I stumbled into the cult that is Taiko Zen, we're not a cult. We're not a cult. I found the Mahayana vehicle of Buddhism, and there's a slight twist to it. And that twist is that, yes, we are on our own paths. We're working towards enlightenment, but we're working towards the benefit of everyone. So it's not just a solo journey. We're in this all together. And as Taiko Zen said before this video started, was that the Buddha said there's not two, there is one. So if you succeed, I succeed. If you fail, I fail. There's this really strong feeling that we are connected in a way that's very difficult to understand. And this was missing in the other the other branch of Buddhism that I'd been practicing in. And I think and it just depends on where your heart lies, but I think this is where my heart lies, is that the way it was described to me was that reaching enlightenment. Let's say it's like a ladder, like you're climbing, you're trying to get to the top of this ladder. In Mahayana Buddhism, you're trying to get to the top of the ladder, not to get to the top of the ladder. You're trying to get to the top of the ladder so that you can turn around and help pull someone else up to the top of the ladder, so that you have the skills and the compassion to reach out to others to help them. So I get the question often, is Buddhism evangelical? Do we go door to door and knock? Do we try to recruit people to our cult? It's not a cult. No. Everybody has their right to choose. Everybody is on their own path. The way as a monastic, I've been asked this a lot recently, and I'm not sure what the shift is, but what do you do as a nun? And do you like recruit people, or do you, there's this, some ask out of suspicion because I show up wearing my monkey robes, and others ask because um, there's this just general fear that, and rightly so, that they're not safe. That at any time someone could come into their existence and take them, or try to change them, or not accept them for who they are, and they're not safe because of that. So I I've been faced with that question, and I've had to ask, what do you do as a nun? And I, in my great Buddhist wisdom, like, I do? What am I supposed to be doing something? I'm just sitting and meditating like we all should be, right? And that's not exactly true. As a nun, I've taken vows, and a lot of those vows are what not to do. Not to kill, not to be mean to other people, not to talk bad about other people. And there's 331 more vows that Buddhist nuns are supposed to adhere to, all the way to not dancing, which I have to say I break that one on the regular. But the what do we do then? What what to do? Not what not to do, but what do we do? And for me, it's very simple. I make myself available for, in case, and for anyone who might need some support. And that support is often just being with them in their present, where they are. Um, so it's something I think that anybody can do. I don't think it's a special superpower that monks and nuns are given. I think anybody can sit with someone in any situation of where they are, whether your internal belief systems and frailty as a human being believe what they're going through is valid or not. It doesn't matter. It's what they're going through, so it's valid to them. And I have people reaching out to me that I support in the past and currently, who, I don't know if any of them are Buddhists, actually, thinking about it, thinking about the people I'm personally involved with right now who've come to me. It's a large group, but I don't think any of them are Buddhists. And I don't think most of them even understand what a Buddhist nun is. They just know that I will listen and not judge, and tell them that I'm thinking about them. That seems to be very important, which it's true. I light incense. I sit and think about them. They pop up in my mind a lot. And I get these connections back saying, oh, thank you so much. My husband's doing much better, or my grief is diminishing, or as if I've done anything. And I haven't. I've just been there for them. So most folks, when it comes to connection, just want you there in their space for a while, not for very, just as long as they need you. And then they'll probably drift away, or tell you they don't need you anymore, or just, for me, my connections are all via the internet. I live out in the woods. So people connect with me through lots of different ways, lots of social media channels, lots of just different ways to reach me. Someone gave them my information. And so you don't have to physically be in someone's space anymore. It's lovely if that person likes that sort of connection. Like if they want you to hold their hand. A lot of people don't these days. They don't want to be that close. They just want you to believe in them and listen to them and hear them. And I think that's anything all of us can do. And I think that's also what Buddha meant when he said your Buddha nature. We all have Buddha nature within us. And it's not something that you have to take vows and put on beautiful robes that were handmade for you to do. Everyone has Buddha nature. Everyone has ability to sit with someone who is suffering, to listen to them. And sometimes that is just what they need to relieve their suffering. To, even if you can't relieve any of their suffering, but you care enough about them to be there for them, not because you need enlightenment. It's because you're reaching your hand out to bring this other person into the light. Or I have an author that I absolutely love, and she's known as the bloggess, the bloggess, Jenny, and she writes a lot about mental illness. And one thing she said was sometimes when you're under the water so deep you can't come out, it's enough to have someone walk along the river with you and just trail their fingers in the water, knowing that they're there. Or to hold your hand underwater, knowing that they can't pull you out right now. You're not able to come out, but just knowing that that hand is there. And that image stays with me. I think that's connectivity. I think sometimes we want the happy ending of what we think the happy ending is for this person. But sometimes this person will never get off substances. This person is never going to accept their situation or get out of this terrible marriage, or they're not going to take steps to ease their own suffering, and that's just where they are. And that's where I kind of lean back on my Theravada leanings, is that that's their path. That's their path, and they're choosing it. And for me to try to cast judgment on that or to pull them onto another path, that's doing violence against them, because that's diminishing their path and their choices, and they have a right to make their own choices. But if their own choices cause themselves suffering, we are here to maybe provide a gentle reminder that the call does come from inside the house when it comes to suffering. Like the Buddha and Tai Kozen said, we can't dodge all the arrows that are shot into us, but we can control what we do with that arrow. And by continuing the actions that produce the suffering, we're sticking more arrows in, expecting it to get better, when maybe pulling out the arrow might be the best option. But you can't make someone do that. And so part of our connectivity to other people is handling ourselves, our internal selves, and holding back our judgment and like, well, why don't you just do the thing and then you'll feel better? And we have, I know all of you and all of us have teachers in our lives, family members, former loved ones, friends, that you can use as examples, as real life examples of people who have decided to pick up more arrows and stick themselves, and they're like, it's going to get better one of these days. And the best thing the most compassionate thing we can do is just be there when they call out. We may not be able to be there all the time. They may never call out, but just to know that, just to let them know you're available, and just to always, and sometimes that looks like just always being open and being there with a smile every time they call, which may be once every 5 years when they need money or they're very sick or whatever, just to be there when they call, to listen and be there in their situation with them, just reaching out the hand, whether it's real or virtual. And for me, that's connectivity. That's Buddha nature. That's what we here do in our little corner of the world. I know all of you do it all the time, is that just to be present. And it doesn't matter if the person is a Buddhist or not. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what their belief systems are, their political belief systems. It doesn't matter. They're a person who's suffering, and you're there, who might be, I hate to use the image of a ladder because it implicates that something's better than another, but you might have a more firmer handle on your own peace and serenity. So you do have the spoons to reach out and be there for someone else who doesn't have that, who isn't in that space right now. And I know you all can do it because, like we know, Buddha is just a label, and we're all Buddhas. We all have the ability to have Buddha nature come up within us and follow the Dharma path and do the things that Buddha himself did. He was just a man who figured things out. And I think you all have too. I think you're just human beings who have figured things out, and you can just be a shining light for someone who maybe doesn't have any light in the moment. So thank you for your question, Darcy. That was just wonderful about what does connectivity mean. And I blathered on about it long enough. I would love to get to meditation at this point. And so that meditation is the practice so that we can be there for other people. I have found there is nothing more effective at giving me the serenity and the patience to be with someone who's in crisis. other than meditation. And the meditation, this is called Buddhism, is called a practice and not necessarily a religion, at least in our little corner of Buddhism. It's called a practice because we're practicing through our meditation, through our breath, through our letting go of, and just being in the moment. We practice that in the comfort of our homes with our puppy dogs and kitties sitting next to us and the birds chirping outside when everything's great. So that when everything's not great, we can easily pull on that serenity. We can easily find it within us because we've been practicing. We've been creating that channel. And now in the moment of crisis, we can breathe and we can remember because we've been doing really good practice. So it comes up easily for us. So we can be the rock in the middle of a storm, or we can be the hand in the water that the person can reach up and grab if they want. So here we're going to do practice. So let's go into our meditation. We're going to stop recording now. Bye, people of the internet. It is